Vaishali, hello.
Yes,
Yes,
Vaishali madam.
join again. Join again.
Vaishali.
Vaishali, join it again. Shravan, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, Akanksha, I can
Yeah,
hear you. And
she's facing some technical issue. She's not
okay,
able to join.
okay. So can we ask Marzia to start? Akanksha.
All right.
Yeah. Please, you also turn on your camera.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So it was really going fine with Vaishali. I'm so sorry due to some technical issue, we lost the connection. So we have Marzia with us, and she's from Iran. A quick introduction to Marzia. Dr. Marzia Reza Begi is an English instructor, a thinker, a consultant, and a teacher educator. She has received her PhD in TEFL, and her PhD dissertation is focused on learner autonomy. She has also worked as a member of educational group and a national course book evaluator. Her major areas of interest are teaching methodology, SLA, and educational psychology. She has written over 30 articles, presented and published both nationally and internationally. She has over 15 years of experience in delivering workshops for EFL teachers of different language proficiency level, helping learners to pursue their own path of learning, boost their motivation, and increase their self-confidence. Thank you, Marzia, to join us. I would request you to please enlighten us with your views on. I can see Vaishali is
Akanksha,
there.
however, Vaishali could join us. So if you
Yes,
think that we can go ahead with Vaishali, then we can join.
that
Please
would
go
be
ahead, join.
perfect.
Yeah.
I hope that would be perfect with you, Marzia. Yes,
Marzia,
Vaishali,
please,
please,
please
please
Yes,
continue.
unmute.
I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. I was just
No issues.
logged
It's
off.
all
Really,
about
really sorry.
technology.
Yes.
Please continue. Please
Right.
continue.
Sure. Yeah, actually, there was just a little bit of thing that I had remaining. I mean, uh, probably I'll just say it like this. The bit that I was trying to explain was about using language supportive approaches. I mean, trying to use the first language to actually explain a lot of things in our English language classrooms. And for example, I use when I have to give a complex instruction before setting up a task to my learners. I use Nepali to explain the instructions because the objective of that instruction is to help them understand what they need to do. It's not about confusing them with even more complicated English vocabulary, So when I do complex instructions, for example, I use Nepali. And also, I use a lot of Nepali rules. I mean, the rules, grammar rules that are there in Nepali, I try and use that a lot to help my English language learners understand the rules. Trying to give them uh, things like what are adjectives called in Nepali. Give them examples so that they can understand the whole grammar rules in English. So using L1 to actually help them understand. Uh, Thank you for that. To help them understand English. I mean, that's something that we can do because it's about embracing diversity. It's not about translation, but it's about language supportive approaches. And the final tip I had there was about giving our learners the power to choose. So, trying to give them a sense that I can choose what I want to learn in English. Okay. For example, giving them loads of alternative tasks to choose from, rather than giving a task saying, I mean, if, for example, you might be practicing writing about the past. So instead of giving things like write about your weekend, where it's very narrow, it's very controlled, teachers can actually use freer practice tasks. Say, write about anything you did last year, whatever you want to write about, because the whole point is about the past simple. It's not about the weekend. So giving learners the power to choose what they want to learn and alternative ways of doing the tasks. I mean, that is something that actually puts the ownership on the learners and motivates them to learn the language. So it's more about student controlled rather than the teacher controlled. So, I mean, the top 3 tips that I wanted to share really, moving from language teaching to focusing on the learning of the language. using language supportive approaches, by embracing diversity.
Vaishali, I think, yeah, she's here. She's here.
Oh, sorry. Over to you, Akanksha. I think wasn't I audible in the last part? Yeah, Akanksha, was I audible in the last part? Yeah. I can't hear you, Akanksha.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, please brief it out.
Okay. I think okay, maybe I wasn't audible. I just wanted to
You
leave.
wasn't.
I
You
hope the
wasn't.
top 3 tips were audible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, those I just wanted to leave the audience with just some useful links they could look for more information on how to motivate their learners and learners from low resource classrooms.
Perfect. Thank you so very much, Vaishali. So I really love the points you gave. It is going to help all of us treating English as a language, not as a subject, focusing more on learning rather than on teaching, and focusing on a culture wherein learners shall have a choice. They should have the power to choose. So I think these are some fundamental changes which we need to, you know, uh, we need to follow to create an environment where English would come without any pressure. People will get an environment to practice it because it is a practical skill that cannot come without using it, without practicing it. So I think that was wonderful to get your 3 points, and that will surely help us to empower ourselves with the techniques that can really help us with the low resource what you have faced in Nepal. We are also facing the similar type of situation in India too, right? So I am very sure this is going to help us. Thank you so very much, Vaishali. So if there is any
Thank you.
question, we can raise that question in question answer session. Now I would like to call Marzia. Marzia, please come and please help us with few techniques that can help us with the limited resources to learn English as a second language. Marzia, can you hear me?
Yes, of course I can.
Most welcome.
Turn on
Thank
your
you.
mic
Can
and
you
camera.
can you see?
Marzia,
Turn on your
Marzia, please.
camera,
Yes, I'm turning it on.
but we can't see you.
Okay, let me use my second laptop because I'm ready to face all these technical problems.
We were able to see you. Can you hear me, Marzia?
Yes, of course I can. The message is the room is full. Is the room full? I don't think
Marzia, you
so.
are already logged in through one device. Simply, you need to turn on your camera. Turn video
Yes, I
on.
know, I know, I know. The message is your connection is slow, so you cannot turn on your camera and you can only
In
be
that
the
case,
audio
in
speaker.
that case, you need to
This is the message
go
I'm
away.
getting.
You need to leave from one device. Then you can log in through another device if you are using the second device.
I think she has joined us. Perfect.
Yes,
Welcome.
perfect. Go ahead.
Welcome.
You
Go
can
ahead.
see me and you can hear me. Shall I start?
Yes,
Please
please.
go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here with you. Well, let's start immediately because of the lack of the time. Because the topic of the session is techniques to learn English, I decided to talk about the learning techniques, not the teaching techniques, actually. And in the panel discussion, we defined techniques. Technique is a way of accomplishing a task. Technique can be a learning activity learners make use of. Techniques are things people do to boost their learning. So in this brief discussion, I have decided to talk about the ways our learners learn English, the way they try to overcome the challenge, and I will talk about some very general techniques of language learning they can implement, and some very specific techniques related to the four languages skills. As you all know, learners have their own ways of learning. For example, for some, random word lists seem to be appropriate. Shall I go through the slides myself or someone does this? Thank you. Thank you. For some, random lists seem appropriate, usually with a translation into mother tongue. Other students might like a kind of organization, perhaps through topic. Some use flashcards, repetition, word list, note-taking. All these techniques are effective in their own right. But, next slide, please. What they usually lack is the context and meaningfulness and the relationship. This is what is missing in our students' techniques and ways of learning English and mastering English. I have checked my students' notebooks frequently, and I have seen these boring lists of isolated words with mother tongue translation. I'm not rejecting mother tongue, of course, but I'm talking about decontextualization. These lists, what's wrong with these lists? Next slide, please. Well, what's wrong with them? There are usually long lists of isolated words. These are some instances of wrong techniques. Long lists of isolated words, or our students immediately read aloud the text or the passages, or sometimes they check the meaning of difficult words first and then go for the challenge of reading or phrasing the language. Next slide, please. Well, why are these things wrong? What's wrong with them? They are usually boring. They're usually difficult. Looking at a list of isolated words with no context, with no story, with no picture is really a daunting task. And they are out of context. They are decontextualized. This is what our learners do, and they need help in these areas. The second problem is, in case of reading, the focus is mostly on pronunciation, not comprehension, but this is not the philosophy of reading. And they do reading not as a real life behavior. Reading aloud, as we all know, is not real life behavior. And in case of looking up the meaning of difficult words, what's wrong with it? They usually ruin the joy of discovery and guessing. And the challenge is spoiled, actually. Next slide, please. So there should be some features for a good technique. First of all, we need to teach them how to learn. I'm not talking about controlling everything. I'm not talking about ruining their personalization and their personal ways of learning, their creativity, and their own styles. I'm talking about the principles, and I'm talking about effective ways, and I'm talking about helping them boost their learning. So we may come up with some features of good language learning techniques. I'm not talking about language teaching techniques. Choice and decision making, as my honorable colleague Vishali said, are really, really important. This needs to be taken into consideration. This is quite, actually, this feature has been focused on recently. So their choice and their decision making should be focused on. They need to have a say in classroom activities, in their choice of learning activities. So they should not be made to choose one single learning techniques and follow it as the only successful path of learning. Another feature is meaningful use of language in context. So we need to take care of context all the time, because by doing this, we will facilitate this learning process. It will become much, much, much easier. Power, control, and ownership of learners need to be respected again. So we are helping them, but they need to feel that they are controlling their own learning and they are just moving forward by their own speed. These learning techniques are usually personalized. So there are some general rules, for example, contextualizing language. But one of my students put the words in a story, another one put them, for example, in a song or any other piece of language. So there shouldn't be obligation. Only the correct principles should be followed, and that's okay. The techniques should be based on needs and purposes. So actually all learning activities and all teaching activities should be purpose-based, and they should be based on our students' needs. And they should be, in addition to learner-based, they should be learning-based. So the results should be learning. The results should be a product, not only doing some sort of activities. So by far, we have said that learning techniques should be taught, they should be instructed, they should be part of our language classes. We are not there for delivering content only. We are there to help them actually overcome the challenge of language. So they need to share with us the ways they are overcoming this challenge, or the ways they are actually enjoying this process. Some general techniques. Next slide, please. Well, some very general techniques about language learning, which are mostly possible in almost all classes with different resources, with different features. Distributed practice. Let's share with the students that they need to spread the practice over a period of time. What do I mean? Instead of devoting 1 day a week to English studies, better to do half an hour a day, but every day. This technique of spreading our practice over a period of time and breaking the process into small chunks is more likely to reap results. So distributed practice as a general learning techniques is influential. The second general techniques of language learning or any type of learning is practicing tests. Next, please. Well, again, I'm not talking about focusing too much on teaching, as Vishali said. I'm talking about the value of question generating and the value of just challenging ourselves and as language learner. I'm talking about language learners, so challenging language learners. Yes, language is a real life behavior, and we need to focus on language rather than tests and scores. But answering the questions and challenging oneself actually make us recall and dig up information that is previously stored. So we need to tell our learners to answer the questions in their student books and workbooks independently first, and then ask for help. Then check the answers in the answer sheet. This actually helped them master the content. So, and this actually increases the depth of their learning. But again, the focus should not be on tests and scores only. This is only a part of instruction, a part of our class. Implicit learning, next strategy, next technique. Implicit learning or invisible learning, which is concerned with the part of the brain which absorbs actions and information unconsciously. This refers to learning by simply surrounding oneself with the language. It includes immersion. socialization with abundance of input like music, radios, TV shows, films, reading materials, etc. So as much as possible, we need to ask our students to go for it. And to some extent, we can say that it's possible to some extent for each and every learning context. We need to surround ourselves with language. If we can't do anything, at least we can switch our operating system, in our cell phones, and our tablets, and our personal computers into English, or read the English labels on products, on toys, on I don't know, soap, jam, any product in English. So I think that even in low resource context, this can be to some extent possible. Another general strategy is keeping a record of learning. Next slide, please. Well, we need a record of our own progress as language learners. Our learners need to keep a notebook or a journal, a form of portfolio. What is the use? This is a report of learning. And what is the difference from a dictionary? Because our learners might write anything they find useful and valuable in their notebooks. It is different. They might say that, hey, teacher, I have a dictionary, so why should I bother? And why should I have this notebook or journal? This is something personal, and this is a report of success and report of mastering something valuable. This is actually like a personal treasure. And at the moment of disappointment, it is really a help. And it's also very good for review. So this is a personal report of my own success, and it helped me review whatever I learn quite often. So this is different from a dictionary, and we need to keep a record of our own progress, and we need to be encouraged by seeing this development. Now, these were some general techniques of learning language. Now, let's discuss briefly a few learning techniques regarding the 4 language skills. First, reading. Next slide, please. Please, next slide.
Marzia, you can also do it on your own.
Yes, I thought that you are going to control everything.
Is that okay?
Okay. Well, in case of reading as the most important academic skill, it is suggested that we make our learners familiar with this task-based teaching. I'm not talking about the scientific technical terminology, but I'm talking about these 3 simple phases that the students can go through, not only in case of reading, but also in case of all 4 language skills. Pre-task, task, and post-task. Preparation phase, main activity, and then post-activity. Preparation phase is usually focus their attention on the upcoming activity. The main activity of reading is usually silent. Research studies have shown that silent reading is better at this phase. And post-reading, which can be answering the questions, reading the text out loud, and checking everything with the passage. In addition to this, if students become familiar with guessing, inference making, note-taking, summarizing, reading for the main idea, for details, all these reading strategies can also be helpful, and these can be somehow techniques at the service of our students. In case of listening, active listening is important. Well, I'm sorry we do not have time to elaborate on all of them fully, but I'm sure that you are already familiar with them. So my honorable colleagues can just take note and study them more later. Next, active listening. No, not next issue, not next slide. Active listening is important, and listening to what is said and how it is said. Our students usually forgot to listen to features that are not linguistic, just like paralinguistic and non-linguistic features. They are also important. And just like other skills, they need to set a purpose for listening. So listening can be done for different purposes. And also, again, implicit learning and listening to music, movies, podcasts, TV shows, and radios can also help. To some extent, these are available in different contexts. Podcasts are usually fashionable these days, and many students are eager to listen to different podcasts, especially because they are updated on coronavirus on different topics. They can find podcasts. Next slide, please. Well, about speaking, one very useful learning technique is to talk and record yourself. I remember the first time that I did this, I hated my own voice, and I said, oh no, this is not my voice, and my pronunciation is not that bad. My rate of delivery is faster. Yes, it can be disappointing at first, but when we actually do it several times till we feel happy with the results, it's quite influential. It's quite helpful. And then preparation for speaking. Many students do not know that they have the right. They can prepare for speaking. They can write notes. They can check pronunciation. Actually, just like a presentation, at least for beginners, for pre-intermediate students, this preparation is a golden key for shy students, for introverts. If we help them prepare, write something prior to the class and search it on the net, that is really helpful. And also, we can ask some students, those who have access, to join voice chats. This is also good in case of online classes, and especially now that people are using virtual sessions, virtual opportunities quite often. And in case of writing, about the last language skill, well, in case of writing, it is suggested that we check and analyze samples of writing. Why? Because first, our learners need to know about the structure of a good writing. And this writing style of English might be quite different from their native languages. So they need to analyze and check good samples, well-structured samples of English, and then start by writing brief sentences and paragraphs. They need to evaluate their own work, this self-evaluation, and this and then peer evaluation. These two are really useful, and they can work in case of online classes as well. So this can help us increase interaction and cooperation in our online classes. We can ask our students to first check their own work and then check it with a friend, ask for comments and correction, and then share the final product with the teacher. In addition to this, they can write comments in English blogs, and they can take care of accuracy and fluency of themselves when they are doing this. So we are extending learning English beyond classroom levels, what Vishali just referred to. So what is important? So what needs to be done? What needs to be taken into consideration regarding learning techniques? Joy of learning should be taken into account. Joy of learning, joy of discovery, and joy of challenge should not be ruined and spoiled. Consistency and continuity in language learning techniques is the golden key to success. So we need to share with our learners that they need to continue, they need to be consistent, and this is not a success overnight issue. Choice, control over learning, and deliberate choice are important because we are dealing with human beings who need to feel this autonomy and independence. They need to feel the power and authority in their own learning process. Review is of great importance in case of any learning techniques. For example, if they have the notebook, the portfolio, the journal, and they record everything they learn, review is the golden key in order to master and internalize the content. And also, our learners need to share their stories of success and failures with us. Let them share these issues, and everything said can be reduced to one key element, which is practice, practice, and practice. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
very
so very
much,
much,
Marzia.
Maria.
It was
You're
really
welcome.
nice. You focused so beautifully on the SRW concept and about the features of good techniques. I'm sure that is going to help us all. So now we have our chief guest, who is Mrs. Lalita Pradeep, ma'am. And Lalita Pradeep, ma'am, works with the government of Uttar Pradesh in the Department of Education. Currently posted as Director SIET, she has joined services in 1992 and worked in school education and secondary sector at grassroots level. A state level awardee for her work in the field of inclusive education in individual category. She has been inducted in drafting committee of policy revamping in teachers education. She developed a software for teacher training management, which is TMS. MHRD adopted her model for the country, making it a mandatory window in a state dashboard. She represented in couple of national level committees as an expert in teaching in teacher education and ICT integration in education. Apart from her professional achievements, she has a creative side of her personality. Her poetries are published in reputed magazines. She has traveled continents that includes Antarctica as well. She is a postgraduate in English literature and is pursuing her PhD in education from a state university. So, without wasting much time, I would like to invite you, ma'am, a warm welcome to you. We did listen to you on 1st of August on the same topic through a panel discussion, and it was such a big opportunity for many of us to listen to you to that depth. I would really wish that if we all can get another opportunity to listen to you. Most welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Akanksha. The lovely introduction you made. I thought you were talking about someone else. You know, it was so interesting to listen to. So, Altai chapter head, Gautam Buddha Nagar, Miss Akanksha Saxena. Eminent speakers, we heard Alex, Maria, and Vaishali. Illuminated guests, friends from overseas. I see in chat box lot many people from different states and countries. And dear teachers, I could see some familiar name from Uttar Pradesh and you know the kind of concern they are putting in chat box. It looks so familiar. So welcome to all. First of all, I want to place my appreciation to organizing committee for this event. Let me take a moment also to thank the chair to ask me for a couple of words. The time for this webinar is just very suitable. Probably when it was conceived, the thing, probably it was not the same, but now see India is out with National Education Policy 2020, which is after a gap of nearly 35 years. And the policy recognized the magic of multilingualism and the power of language in big way. It's with local and a complete global perspective. Considering vast lingual diversity in India, the policy has come out with a plan of action for promoting Indian languages and preserving ancient and classical languages from different states. Say, for example, Sanskrit, Tamil, Oriya, you know, so there is a full-fledged chapter on language learning in the policy, and very, very distinctly everything is mentioned. So one just cannot miss the finer nuances spelled on home language vis-a-vis mother tongue and English. So this timing of this webinar is absolutely wonderful. What policy says? It says that wherever possible, the medium of instruction until entry level or beyond will be the home language, mother tongue, local language, regional language, etc. So now English as second language in India, trust my wisdom. It does not come easy to Indians. My friend from Nepal, Vaishali Pradhan, she shared her sentiments, and we like, I was so much associating with everything, whatever she was saying. That happens exactly in our classrooms. Barring couple of states or union territories in India, not only students, but I see that teachers, even they struggle hard to safeguard their confidence within bracket, and to some extent sanity as well. So here I just want to go little personal. I started ABC of English from class 6, you know. I don't particularly remember any threatening details of my early grades, but I visually recollect when there was this pre-test for opting English as subject in class 9th. Out of 40 odd girls, I was the only one to pass the test, and my scores were a very miserable 4.5 out of 10. Oh my God. It shattered my whatever small little existence I felt at that point of time. I had, you know, that it was a tender age. So 4.5 out of 10 was a shock. From 4.5 marks to 74% in graduation, it didn't come easy to me. It, truly speaking, it was not at all an easy experience. My plight with English, it wasn't over yet. No, when I opted English literature as subject for my post graduation, I faced similar confidence shattering experience. You know, this time it was more obvious, more hurting, and probably humiliating to some extent, because despite topping the list in entrance exam, it took me months, you know, months to secure a place in my classroom, which was not going well with a student of my caliber at that point of time. I think many of Indians, especially from northern part of India, they would definitely associate with this, and probably South Asian countries, people and teachers, they can associate with this kind of experience. See, I'm not a teacher by profession. You know, the kind of good presentation Alex made on Suggestopedia, you know, a good terminology I have learned today, you know, and the kind of to-do list Vaishali went down, and Maria, she was so absolutely great. But so uh, I'm not in a position to prescribe anything, but a quick back, if I look in my own life, it gives me, like, you know, couple of insight, which I think I can share with my listeners. For my linguistic accomplishment, I shift my complete full credit to my teacher who handled us in early classes. In fact, she was a very tough teacher, very tough lady. She never pushed us to adopt shortcuts. So never adopt a shortcut as a teacher. Probably this transmits to learners, and they don't think going for shortcuts in life so far as language learning is concerned. She ensured to teach us the basics of language, that is grammar and phonetics and everything. Basics of language, and actually the best thing what I like, she ensured to teach us the beauty of the language, beauty of the English language. What was missing in her kitty? I reflect. Probably it was the fact that to teach English or any new language for that matter, you need an ambience for speaking. There was none, absolutely none, neither at home nor in a school. So if you look at up in our government schools where Akanksha is teaching, and there are many teachers, they are in government school, probably, you know, that climate for speaking is not there. It's not ready, and nobody is creating it. Over 4 decades after my schooling, and being I'm in this job since last 25 years, I find this deficit is still existing in my schools. Teachers, they shy away speaking in English, probably for being mocked on mistakes or whatever otherwise reasons they have. But then it is there and it is prevailing there. So my request to all teachers, this basically I am addressing mostly to teachers because students, they are not around. When teachers, what teachers are the students they would be in future. So they should not feel guilty on going wrong. After all, it is not our mother tongue. So we can go wrong, we could be wrong, but there are means to correct it. There are means to correct it. So we must do it, must practice on speaking in English. The idea of going perfect is very gradual. So start, just leave the fear of being mocked or going wrong. Just leave it. Leave all fears of speaking a language. After all, it's not our language. It's not our mother tongue. It is a second language. So speak and speak a lot. I do insist on this only. Converse in English with students and colleagues in school. Motivate children to speak more in English. Believe me, the key of success lies here, because we learn grammar, we learn phonetics, we learn pronunciation, everything. But that speaking climate has to be given in the school. It has to be created by the teacher. Reading text aloud helps you connect with the language, which Maria was more emphasizing in her presentation, and support improving phonetics and pronunciation. These days, it's not difficult, with technology, things are very, very easy. Not only increasing vocabulary is the target, but also use maximum words of your own existing vocab. Try using a subtle one word to express rather, and must learn to embellish your written English. Create ambience to support learning with various fun activities. Maria, she was also emphasizing, she also listed some of those activities, even within the classroom and outside the classroom. Theater. I place much emphasis on theater and performing arts. They are very, very handy tools to bring required learning outcome. Why? Because they have expressions and they have sign language. They probably, theater or performing art probably create, that kind of subtle environment to learn English. The kind of context Maria was talking, I think that we can achieve through performing art, more and more activities in theater mode. Language needs to be linked with real life. Absolutely, this is so mandatory and shall be based on experiential learning pedagogy. So with language teaching, one has to be very, very real. Teaching of English can be enhanced to innovative and experiential methods. With advent of technology, so much of ICT is here. Gamification. These days, gamification and use of various apps that are available, I think everything has become very, very comfortable for teachers and even for students. With language, I think every language has a cultural aspect, cultural context. Try to connect it well with films, poetry, storytelling, music, songs, etc. Now everything is so much possible. It's easy now with the internet barging every household. I remember reading my first English fiction in graduation, and my first English movie, the famous Blue Lagoon, in early 80s. Oh my God. These days students, they have access to everything. English language opens a window to a new world. I never placed One more thing, never place English as opposite to Hindi or to your mother tongue or to your local language. You are rich by all measures if you know more than one language. Being multilingual is sheer bliss, and it has power and magic to control all your dreams coming true in your life. So English language is really a beautiful language. It has a very rich literature. Go for it. Try to compose with all the techniques possible. Make the learning happen in the classrooms. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. So I'm very sure the guidance she has given us in terms of how the new educational policy is going to handle English as a language or as a medium of instruction would be really important direction for the teachers who have been working at primary level and upper primary level. And if you want to listen to her on the same topic, there is a video of 1.5 hour on Akansha Saxena YouTube channel. So you can listen to Lalita Pradeep ma'am and Marzia Rezabegi on the same topic. It was a panel discussion for more information and for more clarity on the topic. So I think we have already extended the time limit, so we can avoid the question answer session. If you have any question, you can directly send your question to my email address, which is akankshasaxena10@gmail.com. And if you wish to ask a particular question to a particular speaker, we can direct the question and you will get the answer. I hope that would be okay with you all. So thank you so very much, Alex, Marzia, Vaishali, and Lalita ma'am. It was really pleasure to listen to you. English as a second language, which is not a native language for us, always comes as a challenge for the teachers, for the learners, for the mothers, for the parents who are not, getting the exposure to learn it, to practice it, and not getting the environment to use it. So I believe this session would have helped many of us as to learn different techniques, strategies which can help us to learn English without any hesitation, within the limited resources, and without any extra pressure. So thank you so very much for your benign presence. You have directed us in a wonderful manner with different perspective that how things works in in Iran, in USA, in Cairo, in Nepal, and in India. Thank you so very much for this session. We have a message from Mr. Vijay Kiran Anand. Due to an urgent meeting with Chief Minister, he is not able to be here in this webinar. So he has sent his blessings to us on this ELT webinar, and he has said that we should continue our efforts on ELT, and we should always look forward for the practices which can help the basic or the grassroots level to introduce English as a language, which can empower the underprivileged students, teachers, and the entire system. Thank you so very much, Vijay Kiran Anand sir, and thanks all the speaker, all the guests in the session, and the audience who have joined us today. Over to you, Shravan sir.
Thank you, Akanksha Saxena. Thank you so much for moderating the session. Wonderful. Now, may I please request Dr. P.N. Ramani to propose the vote of the thanks?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you please turn on your camera, sir?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, Ramani sir, you are very much audible. Can you please turn on your camera?
My webcam is open.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, but my webcam is open.
Okay, then sir, you go ahead, please. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I take this opportunity to thank, on behalf of LTI, the Gautam Buddha Nagar chapter for organizing this excellent session. Hello?
Sir, you are very much audible and visible now.
Okay, okay. So I was just thanking the Gautam Buddha Nagar chapter for organizing this, the speakers, the moderator for this session. It went excellently well. I'm speaking.
Yes, sir. You please go ahead, sir. Yes, very much, sir. Very much, sir. Ramni, sir, you are very much audible and visible.
Yeah, but there's a lag. There's a lag between my speaking and
Anyway, you can go ahead, sir.
okay. First of all, let me thank we thank Dr. Akanksha Saxena, for the moderator, for having been the moderator for this session, and for the introduction of the speakers and the guest of today's session. We thank the speakers, Dr. Alex Anderson, Dr. Vaishali Pradhan, and Dr. Marzi. Each of them in their own way focused on some aspect of the theme of this webinar, multiple techniques to learn English as a second language. I would also like to thank Lalita Pradeep for giving her anecdotal experience of how she herself learned English from grade 6 onwards. I would like to thank all the participants who have been attending this session. I'm sorry about a gap. We had to go off the air and come back again. Finally, I would like to make an announcement about the next session, which will be on the 23rd of August, and the topic will be supporting our students in autonomous learning. All the we'll send the information, details, the brochure to all those people who will be interested in joining this webinar. Please do join us. Please make a note of the date. It's the 23rd of August. Thank you very much.